Okay, hey everyone, we're doing a little video here for you guys just to bring up to speed as far as what we're going to do with the club. Going back now, we can go back to contact training, we think.
Kind of.
Kind of. Everyone's kind of said we can, except for the DCMS, who will tell us just after we've gone back to started training. So, yeah, so we thought we'd give a little bit of clarity. Robin had been posting on the WhatsApp group about what we were going to do and asking for any questions. So we'll go through. I know Jason put a question on there.
We've had one question.
We've had one question. So yeah, we just wanted to clarify what the sort of plan was, so that everyone had an understanding. It was probably easier to do it on video than write out a massive long script on text that, you know, it takes longer for you to read than it does to watch the quick video. So yeah, here we are. So hi. As of Monday, which will be the 19th.
That's correct.
In theory, as far as we understand from the governing bodies, they seem to have had meetings with not UK Sport, but one of the governing bodies and the government, that actually we can go back to contact training, and that they're going to jump right forward to that and sort of jump all the other steps that they're put in place. So that means that we can go back to training. So yeah, like we said, we just wanted to lay out some ideas about training and what's going to try and suit everyone as best as we can, with a bit of flexibility and a sort of a bracket that you can fit into that works the best for you and your circumstances. So Rob, do you want to go through your
what do you want to do? Do you want to go talk about sort of training sort of setup or schedule?
Should we talk about training setup and then we'll talk about schedule?
So I think the conversations I've been having with people, with Pete, other people, I think we can pretty much do what we want. Like Pete said, they're scrapping all the intermediate steps, and you can pretty much do what you like. But the thing is, you have to understand at the moment is that if you train and you have close contact, you break social distancing with someone who then tests positive on a COVID test, you then have to self-isolate for 10 days. So it's a case that you're going to have to be aware of that and manage that risk kind of accordingly. So for example, some people might opt to only ever train with one other person. So that will be like, oh, I just train with this person and we go in on this day and this day, and until further notice, we're just going to train together. And that's fine, you know, and that might be also good for people that haven't really sort of been in close contact with anybody else for a long time. Maybe that's a good way of kind of tapering things back in. Kind of at the other end of that extreme, someone comes in and says, I don't mind, I'll kind of work with anybody in any kind of number. That's fine, but then that means that your risk is, you know, that much higher. It's kind of up to you. I think the way we'd kind of suggest to start off with, and as I say, these things can change, and please let us know if you've got any particular concerns. But I think basically, it would be better if people have a dedicated training partner, at least for the one class. So if that's the same person you worked with last time, that's fine, but then you can just train with a different person every time you come in. Now, if there's a real need to be a group of three, just because, you know, people coming in and you haven't got, you know, odd numbers and preference, that's fine. I don't think that's going to be a massive issue.
Or it could be you're traveling to class together in that group or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's the incremental risk on top of that anyway? Yeah, and for example, we were saying, like, for you guys, it doesn't really make a whole load of difference. Like, if you're happy to isolate, then okay, that's fine. But for some, like for Pete and myself, we've got to be a little bit more careful, because if we have to isolate, then the other one has to isolate, and then there's no class, and we go back to teaching from the living room for 10 days, you know, which is not ideal. So we might have to deal with things a little bit differently to kind of you guys. But that's a very long way of saying it's kind of up to you. And we're going to try and facilitate what we can.
Yeah. I was thinking as well, actually, something we hadn't said about is just be really upfront with everyone as well. So like, if you're going into class and you are someone that, you know, you're going to train in a group of three, or you're not really too fussed, just ask people first before you jump on them or whatever. And, you know, so if everyone's, you know, honest with each other and open and upfront, and just said, oh, well, are you training with someone? Have you got a bubble? What's your, you know, what's your bubble that you're training with? Before you kind of say, oh, let's train together and put, you know,
Yeah.
so that no one was under any pressure.
Take the pressure off at that kind of,
Yeah.
that immediate, you know, that immediacy. You have to make a snap decision. One other point, actually, which kind of you thought of there when you talk about being upfront with people, is also like, I know some of the guys I was talking to, they were suggesting like they kind of at the moment are quite regularly doing lateral flow tests. I don't necessarily say you'd have to. You don't have to do that to come to class. We're not enforcing that or anything. But if you and your little cohort that you work with, if you decide, oh, we just do lateral flows every day anyway because of whatever other reason, then that's another way that you might want to kind of work. And again, you'd want to be open about that with who you're training with, right? That might be a positive thing. Some people see it as negative, but you know, that could be a positive way of feeling a bit safer in what you're doing.
And the other thing is that bear in mind, guys, that we've got the first sort of couple of classes of the week together, and then it's just me teaching for a couple of weeks because Rob's off on holiday, and as you can see, I'm on holiday at the moment. So just for the sake of my logistics and making my life a little bit easier, then obviously, yeah, just making it really clear who's working with who and things like that makes my life that little bit easier.
I think that's a really good point. But you have to know who you were training with, just in case you get track and trace yourself, and you have to say who you've been in close contact with for the last X amount of days. Because that was the benefit of keeping to bubbles, and I think we should really actually make that point, Pete, is the fact that we're keeping to bubbles, because if you're bubble A and bubble B, you haven't broken social distancing, and therefore you don't have, the whole class doesn't have to go home and stay there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, so with your partner, just giving a bit of distance between the other partners on the mat, or a group of 3 or whatever, just to make sure that we don't wipe everyone out in one go if that happens. You know, which it may well do. So yeah, if we just do that, then that makes life a little bit easier for everyone. I
think the other thing we should say is, Pete and I were talking just before we started, and these things it's not forever, because hopefully, as long as everything continues to go in the correct direction, the intention at the moment is that as of the 16th of August, so 4 more weeks from Monday, the self-isolation of a close contact of a positive case is not supposed to have to self-isolate if they've had 2 jabs, okay, or if they're under 18. So that's the carrot on the stick from the government to get your vaccinations at the moment. You know, so that changes things again a little bit at that point, because then we can maybe be a bit more free with what we do in terms of training and who we train with, etc.
But ultimately, the good news is that you're going to be back contact training.
Yeah, I can't wait. And as I was saying to the guys the other day, I think the biggest thing is actually that Pete and I can demonstrate on each other. Not for the next week and a half because I'm on holiday, but other than that, it's going to be good just for demoing stuff. Yeah. So like, we don't have to train with a Bob.
Yeah, we can start getting back into the self-defense stuff and doing all that stuff that we just couldn't do before. So half the syllabus that was wiped out by not being able to do it because you're doing it on Bob is now back on the table. It means you've got someone that you can train with and you can roll with. You know, when we're going to introduce that back slowly because we know how excited everyone will be. So we don't want any injuries.
Pay for that.
So we can see how we can start reintroducing that, and you've got a training partner or partners that you can get back training with and rolling with, and essentially doing jiu-jitsu like you were before, but just with a smaller pool of people. That's all.
I think it's not even necessarily smaller, because I was thinking about this the other day. How many people were you actually training with in a normal class? Right. Say you'd work with one person for an hour, and then when you're rolling, 5 rounds?
Yeah.
So it might be you, and one of those people is probably one of the people you would already train with.
Yeah.
So you might have really had close contact with only 6 people anyway.
Yeah.
Realistically, so it's not actually going to be
probably,
a massive cut from that.
Probably you and me that were going around more people than anybody else, because we're trying to roll with as many different people as possible.
We're adjusting people and stuff, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, good, awesome.
That's a win. What else we need to? Schedule. That
was Jason's question. Yes, Jason asked about schedule.
Yeah. Again, this is a first cut. It could change if it's really not working for people. We have got some scope, you know. But I think the initial plan that Pete and I spoke about for 5 seconds before we went online was that we were going to try and go back to roughly where we were pre-pandemic. So 7 till 8 on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday is going to be a blue belt class. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then from 8 till 9, we'll have our fundamentals on those evenings. And really still, if he's frozen. No, he's frozen.
Yeah, no, I can hear you still. Just pictures frozen.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, there we go. Back. Sorry about that, guys. Just a little internet problem of being in the middle of Cornwall.
Yeah, why they want to change things while it's vacation time, I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, so where were we? So I think where we were, 7 till 8, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, it'd be a blue belt class. We'll come back to that in a second. And 8 till 9 on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning, one single session, 9 till 10, will be fundamentals. Now, when we get back to doing a bit of rolling, that can be the normal half hour. After that, we'll see how that kind of works. I don't know how many people are going to want to do it, but we'll see what we can do. That will be from like the last half hour, after those sessions. But what Pete and I were talking about was just try and get all the existing blue belts back up to speed with the stuff that they should know for their blue belts, and for all the the 4-stripe white belts to get them up to speed with the blue belt material. I think what we're planning on doing at the moment is making the Monday and the Wednesday blue belt sessions also open to 4-stripe white belts, so that we can get you guys kind of, even though we don't know when there's going to be a test happening, we can get that kind of test prep stuff done. And it's a good refresher, as I say, for the blue belts. That leaves us with the Thursday evening from 7 till 8 to go through more specifically blue to purple material. Again, that might change. Give us 2 weeks and see who's actually turning up to classes. That might change again. But the basic structure goes back to what it was, but just the content changes, and a few more invitees for the Monday and the Wednesday blue belt sessions. So, does that cover it, Pete?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. Can you still hear me? It's frozen a little bit. But...
I'm serious. No, you're moving again.
There we go. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. We are getting a bit of rubbish internet now.
To be fair, was there much else? I'm not sure if there was.
I don't think there was much else, to be fair. I think that's just what yeah, that was the only question, was Jason's one for that. And then, yeah, that's scheduling. That's how we're going to do it with everybody. So now it's just a case of doing it.
Getting to it.
Getting to
exactly.
it.
I'm excited to get back. It's going to... And Pete's frozen again.
Yeah, it keeps dying. Okay. Yeah, we'll kill it there. But yeah, as we said, really excited. Step in the right direction. At least we can get back to training properly. So yeah, good stuff. We will see you guys in person next week. And if you the one thing I was going to say, if you know anyone that, you know, during all this, and we don't blame them, has muted the chat or whatever on WhatsApp, and won't have been getting the messages or whatever about restarting or anything, then hit them up and just let them know. You know, that this video is going to go up, and I'll try and upload it to YouTube, and then and obviously you guys will get it in the chat, but also if they've muted the chat, get them to unmute the chat again so that they can figure out when they're coming back to class. I think that was it. Okay.
So any more questions though? Anything, if this has generated any questions, stick them below in the chat and we can get to them.
Yeah. Awesome. Alrighty, guys. See you next week.